On the anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack, Yuval Danzig joining us to discuss the tragic loss of his father, Alex Dancyg. Alex, a Polish-born Israeli Holocaust historian and advocate for Polish-Jewish relations, was abducted by Hamas and recently confirmed dead. His death highlights the ongoing tragedy of the conflict. How does a family move forward from such a devastating loss, and what can the world learn from Alex's legacy of peace and dialogue? Joining us today on TVP World is Yuval Danzig, son of Hamas hostage Alex Dancyg. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Thank you for having me.
So, Yuval, it's been a year since your father's abduction. How are you and your family coping with it?
It's one long day since October 7th. I can't believe that it's 1 year later. The kibbutz that my father was living is in the same situation. Our family didn't recover. So it will take time, I think. For us, it didn't over until all the hostages are back. So we're still very much in it.
Right, definitely a very, very hard situation to be in. And, well, your father is known as a symbol of reconciliation between Polish and Jewish communities. How do you hope his legacy will continue in these difficult times?
It will be hard to do it because we're seeing that in Israel and here things are not good at all now. But I know that we will do whatever we can do, the family, to keep his legacy alive.
And do you think the experience of your father's abduction and death impacted your view in ongoing conflicts between Israel and Hamas in any way, shape, or form?
Again?
Do you think that the abduction and the death of your father impacted your view of this ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas in any way?
Of course, I think all Israel, most of us wake up from a dream that we are stronger than anyone. We were not aware for our enemies what they can do, and I think after what happened, we need to understand that we need to protect ourselves. But first, we need hostages home. This will protect our society, and this is much more important than anymore.
Right, I think you put a lot of emphasis on bringing the hostages back, and for you, this might be something that could eventually help take a step towards closure. Can you help us elaborate a little bit on that, and how do you think solving the hostage situation might be one of the things that help the Israeli society move forward?
I think now the Israeli society are torn apart, and without the hostages, we can't keep it together again, because there are hostages from all over the country, for religious, not religious, settlements, and others. So it affects every one of us. I can say for me, I still have an uncle there, he's hostage. So for us, it will go on until they're all back.
And do you think, what lesson do you believe that the international community can draw from your father's story?
I think the international community understanding now that they need to bring a solution to the area, because I don't think that not the Israeli government and especially not Hamas can find a solution. The solution needs to come from the international community, and they need to be more into it. And I hope it will happen, because we see in other conflicts that the international community doesn't take actions, like in Ukraine. So I hope something will happen with the international community before we have a big world war again.
Right. So from your perspective, perhaps be it Israel, be it Hamas, there's not that strong of a will to see the conflict cease, and we do have to depend on kind of international pressure for that to happen. But how realistic do you still think there's hope for any dialogue and peace between Israel and its neighbors, or even if the international community is able to force them into a negotiation table?
I think that if you live in Israel, you need to believe that there can be some kind of a solution between us and our neighbors, because to live in a war, in a contact war, it's not a solution. I have kids. I want them to rise in a peaceful place, not in a war zone. So I hope, but I think I can't think about a solution now because we're not even close. We need first to finish this war, to bring the hostages back, to find a solution for every civilian that was hit in both sides, because I don't want revenge. I don't need revenge. I want people to live there peacefully and in our country peacefully. But we both need to want it, you know.
Right. I think something you brought up that's very important here. Like, despite the situation on the ground, I think it is important to keep that hope alive that peace will eventually come. We have that light at the end of the tunnel to look forward to. That's how you guys keep trotting on. Turning our attention to your late father, he often spoke of his dual identity as both Polish and Israeli. How do you think this kind of approach shaped his worldview and approach towards peace?
I think that his dialogue was between the two people, complete what he think about people. He wanted us to learn values, to live without any stereotype on anyone. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the same thing he tried to do with Polish and Jewish. Not the Polish, not think that when they coming here on delegations, they're only going to see death camps, that there is a cultural country, they can see a lot of places. And the same about Polish, to understand what happened here before the war, the Jewish culture that was here. I think that's what he tried to do. And that shaped his opinion among humans, I think.
Right, definitely. Something that we could perhaps all take a lesson from without just hyper-focusing on one particular event in history, but kind of take a step back and looking at the broader picture between the, dual identity or different parts of humanity. And do you think that your fathers will recognize his effort fostering understanding? What initiative do you like to see in the future to perhaps continue this dialogue, to keep his legacy alive, to make sure the rest of the world can see the things the way through his eyes?
First, he left us a lot of videos and he left us books about what his opinion to do. And I think he left a lot of students and a lot of friends that will keep his legacy with us. So we'll do our efforts to do it.
All right, and just to give our audience here how widespread and prolific Danzig has been for fostering this relationship between the Jewish and Polish relation, I've actually personally came across a lot of the events that he organized when I was studying. Of course, I didn't take part of it personally, but I've heard a lot about this attempt at fostering relationship. And I think, again, this is a story that could be promulgated, could be taken as a lesson going forward for everyone to take into mind, take into heart about how trying to come together and, come to a peaceful dialogue. And when it comes to that, do you think, what message would you like to share and help people around the world who are witnessing this ongoing conflict and its human toll?
That human life are first. That any war, in any part of the world, we need to take actions for human life before everything. And I'm not seeing it. Eventually, I'm not optimistic now from what's happening, but I really hope that the governments will come together and understand that first, we need to live here in the world peacefully, and then we can find a solution to everything.
Right, like you mentioned, perhaps a lot of things that are negated is that human life indeed come first, and perhaps that is something that is being overlooked right now by a lot of the actors within this conflict. How would you suggest the world go about it, and what do you believe is the way to kind of advocate for what you mentioned and kind of perhaps putting human lives and the humanitarian cause ahead of the conflict, ahead of some of the interests that these national actors have?
First, we need the world to understand that the hostages situation is not a political situation, it's a human situation. And every time even in Israel, when people talk with us about this is the left-wing party situation or something, we understand that all the hostages are for all the Israeli society, and they are humans. This doesn't matter if they're Jews, if they are Thais, if they are, I think they're another country. They need to be out. They need to be home with their families. I can say that we are the example of what happening when it took too long, because he was alive when he was kidnapped, and he could come back to us alive. So first we need to stop this thing and to stop the war, but with an agreement that says that all the hostages are back home.
Do you think there's a way to depoliticize this conversation so that people focus more on the actual humanitarian situation, the situation of the hostages, bring them back, instead of that devolving in? Because once things become political, I think there's a lot more vested interest in seeing things kind of either being delayed or not really coming to the table to solve the issue.
This is the big tragedy, that even our government trying to put this on the political one side, and not their side. That's why I think that the only solution is international.
All right, so perhaps we do have to look forward to ways to solve this in a more humanitarian level and look past politics and, like your late father have always been doing, look to the human side of the story. Thank you so much for your input and insight and helping us, understand your struggle and suffering at this very difficult time. Really appreciate it. Thanks
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.